I started Pivot Track in Dalhart in 1997, so I've been doing this nearly 30 years, and every year I learn a little bit more. So one day I'll get there. But oops. So I always say to start with a joke. So there's 3 farmers walking along the beach. I don't know what 3 farmers are doing on the beach, but one farmer says, "It's windy today." And the next farmer says, "No, it's not. It's Thursday." And the next farmer says, "Me too. Let's go get a drink." So that's the icebreaker. So anyway, we started in '97 in Dalhart, basically as a real simple setup. It would tell you whether your system was safetied in or not, and whether you had water pressure or not. Didn't tell you how much pressure, didn't tell you where the system was, didn't tell you didn't allow for programming or changing speed or direction or anything like we do today. But in 2005, we started building our own software. We started with the Rain website. Does anybody use that? So it's been fairly popular. We get several thousand hits a day when it's raining. So not very often, but we get them. We started building and designing and building our own hardware in about 2008. And so we started bringing everything in-house and doing it all in Dalhart, which isn't always easy. I had some good employees that brought us there. But in a town of 8,000 people, to find the talented people necessary for that was difficult. But we had them, and so eventually got it up to about 8,500 monitors, 30,000 text messages a day during the peak of season in the springtime, and then in 2021 we merged with Valley, so now we're part of the Valley system. If anybody has any questions as we go, that helps me. I like interaction, so just spit it out. So we're going to talk a lot about pressure, but we're going to talk about other factors in the system too. But the main thing is pressure, because it's so important to your system. And I've been looking at graphs of pressure for 20 years. You know, there's things that I see that other people don't. I can pick things out in a graph pretty quickly. But I want to ask you guys, what's your typical pressure at the end of your system? And I'm talking like where you would have your gauge. Most of you have a gauge at the end, I'm sure, but throw me out some numbers.
13.
13?
12.
9.
Okay. All right. I haven't heard very many real numbers. No, I'm sort of joking, but sort of not. So, because I look at pressure all the time. Anybody else want to spit a embarrassingly accurate number out?
3 to 5.
3 to 5? Who said 2? Who said 2 back there? 2?
You talking water or air?
Yeah. In between the air, the water that you're getting. So, so now we need to be really honest with what we've got out there. If you said 8 to 12 or so, that's awesome. So my next question would be, where on the system is that 8 to 12? We're looking at the end tower, and we're not talking about pivot pressure at all here. We're just talking about end tower. That's where your acres are. You're running the last 25% of your pivot is covering about half of your acres, right? So that's where your crop is. So where are you talking about pressure?
Yeah.
The last hose.
But where?
It's where you put the sensors on.
Well, that's on
I'll tell you where.
on the tower there by your.
I'll tell you where we put the sensor, but where, you know, what about your gauge? Where's your gauge located?
In hose
In hose?
Yep.
Where on the hose?
At the bottom.
at the bottom,
Right next to the nozzle?
Yep.
right above the nozzle.
Okay. Anybody else? So who actually uses a gauge and who just counts on the monitoring device? If you count on the monitoring device and don't really use a gauge much, raise your hand.
monitor.
We don't have one.
Okay, the monitor is fine. It's not really a bad answer, but you gotta know what you're looking at. So, I'm gonna jump back and forth on a few things. I just wanted to kind of get that set out, and then we'll move forward. Okay, who uses monitors to monitor their crops, their irrigation system? Is there anybody that doesn't?
Doesn't?
We don't.
You don't? Okay, where do you live?
Texoma.
Really?
Part
Okay.
of God's country.
Yeah,
You're right
well-
beside us on all the other people.
Do you have a lot of water?
No.
I have a damn tandem on my sprinkler.
You're also the ones that said 8 to 12 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. But you may have a little more luxury use than some of the other people.
Well, he's a driller.
Okay, all right. Anybody else not using telemetry? Okay, so when you use your telemetry, you're most likely you're using one of these four. And are you using the telemetry to tell you how much water you're actually applying? Do you use where it says 1.2 inches or whatever, your application rate? Are you using it for that, or who's using it for that? Okay, all right, that's good. So are you sure your parameters are set correctly? Good, we have somebody. All right, you sure? Okay, so that's most of what we're going to talk about is the parameters. What are the three things that your telemetry needs to be accurate? Just spit it out.
Flow rate.
Flow rate, that's one,
Length of the machine.
or acres.
Or
You can go either way. So some, I think AgSense uses length and PivotTrack uses acres. What else?
Pressure.
So acres, that's easy enough. Most people know pretty close how many acres they have. Sometimes you're changed based on your FSA numbers or whatever. I mean, you need to be accurate with that. And if you cut off some end hoses or something, you need to have that accurately. And then we said flow rate changes from year to year or from week to week, right? Is it hard to keep up with your pressure changes or your flow rate changes? It can be. It depends on your situation. Maybe not in Texoma, but from the beginning of the season to the end, what kind of a percentage difference do you have? I mean, every pivot's going to be different, but that could be huge. What's the last thing we need?
Revolution.
3 factors. What's that?
Revolution.
Revolution?
Hours of revolution.
Yeah. Speed at 100%.
Yeah.
Typically, that's speed at 100% is the factor that you need to enter in. So, where do you get that?
In tower,
In tower? How?
by the distance, I mean.
You actually measure it?
Well, when you put them up, you gotta measure, I mean, from the pivot to the in
Okay.
tower,
Okay, so where are you going to find that number, or how are you doing it?
sprinkler chart.
Sprinkler chart, right. Okay, so that's how most people find it. You think that's pretty accurate?
Who knows?
Depends.
The reason I'm asking the question is because I'm probably going to tell you it's not, right?
Yeah.
So it is a great starting point. It's a really good starting point, but we're gonna get into that. So what are we looking at here? This is a Standard Valley sprinkler chart. Where are your important numbers on there? Can you pick them out? You got your
Total acres there,
your flow right here,
Middle of that.
your acres.
1,289.9 feet.
Then
Yeah.
application
So-
depth at 100%.
One of these two you're going to be punching in. You're going to be punching in your flow rate.
The hours.
Hours per revolution. That's hours at 100%. So that's the maximum speed it can go. Why is that important? How is it using that? It's also right here. Why is that important?
So you know what you're putting down.
Because the monitor is going to control the pivot by the percentage of speed.
Right.
That's the only thing it has. It doesn't know anything else. So in order for it to convert that percentage of speed into something that's useful, like application rate, if you don't have these 3 factors correct, you're going to be off somehow. So we can figure our acres. Usually we're pretty close on acres. And I say usually because I've seen a lot of situations where they're not. Somebody changes from a full circle to a partial circle, and they punch in 60 acres instead of 120, when the monitor still thinks it's 120 acres. So it's gonna throw your numbers way out of whack. So it needs to be the full circle acres, even if you're doing a half circle. Flow rate, we're gonna talk about how that can be off and why, and then your speed at 100%. So is there anything else that stands out on this? I ask leading questions. Does anybody ever read this disclaimer part?
Well, it's like-
Why would you?
That's like reading setup manual.
Right. So there's some interesting things in there if you read it. Things that affect it: tire slippage, tire pressure, field slopes. They're actually telling you what a number of the variables are right there. So I'm trying to remember why I have this slide up. So anyway, it changes through the field though. This is near the end of the system, so this is your number 8 tower, and showing what your pressures are going to be. You see there's actually 2 pressures there. What does that mean? You got your line pressure and your sprinkler pressure. Who said 8 to 12 pounds? Where's that measured?
We can get 15 pounds
Yeah, where? Where are you measuring that?
at the end.
Where? Where on the drop hose?
It's on the bottom of the drop hose,
So
right below.
you're measuring it right here where it says 15.8?
Mhm.
Okay. So well, let me ask this. On your drop hose, how does pressure change as the water goes down the drop hose? Gets higher as it goes down. What's the rate at which it goes higher? How many?
Pound per foot.
Oh, in the last session? Who said it?
We do pound per foot. Pound per foot of it, or pound per foot.
No? 2.31. 2.31, just round it to 2.3 feet. So roughly, this is 1 pound of pressure on your drop hose. Say you're at 5 pounds here, you're at 6 pounds here. What's your length of your drop hose? You got about 12 feet roughly? So you have 4 pounds up here, you're gonna have a lot more here, aren't you? What's your pressure gauge gonna be showing? So we're adding roughly 4 or 5 pounds to that number to get down to our nozzle, aren't we? So if whoever said 3 or 4 pounds, that's what I'm seeing all the time. But I'm looking at Pivotrec's pressure gauge, which is mounted right about here on the line. So we try to mount it as low as possible on that drop hose as we can, because so many people are running such low pressure. And most people think, when they first get a monitor or a Pivotrec monitor, they think the pressure's wrong because they're not seeing the pressure that they think they have. Yeah. So we're reading it there. What's that nozzle package? What's it calling for on the pressure?
15.
Where?
Bottom.
At the bottom. Where's
10 at the top.
10 or so at the top. Who's running 10 at the top?
Depends on if you gauge the stuff.
So you got roughly 8 showing in this scenario where you have 4 at the main line. You've got roughly 8 showing at the gauge where people typically put it. You've got 9 or so down at your nozzle, and 5 or so where we're measuring it. We don't put it. It's very difficult to put a pressure transducer at the bottom there because you'd have to run wire all the way down there.
Right.
Then it'd be catching in the corn or whatever. So that's why it doesn't go down there. And so when you're looking at that pressure on your monitoring system, you need to know where that gauge is and compensate for it in your head. Because if that nozzle package is calling for, we'll go back to it. So that's pivot pressure. Let's see here.
That didn't show it.
Let's go.
Here's the next slide. There.
Yeah. So if it's calling for 15 at the main, or at the sprinkler and 10 at the main line, and we're showing 3, what do you got out there?
You need to go down another 50 gallons.
You don't have 550 gallons a minute, do you? So Leon knew, he used to be a part of this. He had an old rule of thumb, and I'm talking 15 or 20 years ago. So back when pivots were typically, a quarter miler was nozzled for 700 or so. His rule of thumb was 1 pound of pressure equals 25 gallons a minute. 1 pound of pressure below what this chart would tell you. Obviously, if you're only running 300 gallons a minute, it's not going to be nearly as much. But that tells you how much a pound of pressure makes a difference on the end of the system. Super important that that gets entered in correctly and that you try to keep your pressures close. I know it's difficult to keep those pressures up. It's very, very difficult to actually keep what the nozzle package is calling for. But if you're not keeping that pressure where it needs to be, you're not putting out 550 gallons on this in this case. So, and I know not everybody uses PivoTrack, so bear with me. Each system is going to have their own place for setting things, but this is where PivoTrack the setup is for each circle. So you can click on the flow rate and change that. It also takes you into the place where you can adjust your acres and adjust your speed at 100%. And then we give a handy gallons per minute per acre so that you kind of know where each circle is setting. So, end tower, super important. We talked about the pressure side of it. What else is there? And I'm asking the question here. Slippage can cause a difference on the speed at 100%, can it? What's that speed at 100% that we looked at on the nozzle chart? What's that? What are the conditions for that?
Tire size.
Dry.
Dry, perfect conditions. Not the way you want to water, is it? You don't want to water when it's. I mean, you don't want to water on dry dirt. You want it to be soaking and pushing some mud, don't you? So, what are the causes? What causes that change in slippage? Give me a few factors. From perfect, according to the nozzle package, to what you really run. What are some of the issues that can cause a change there?
Terrain.
Terrain, good. Elevation changes. Now, we don't deal with that a whole lot around here. There's a few places, but like Nebraska, that's a huge deal in certain areas. What else?
Tire air pressure.
Yeah. What else?
Type of tower.
Type?
Radial biased.
Okay, yeah.
Plastic.
Yep, I didn't really think about that, yeah.
Oh,
You got me. What else?
Breakdowns?
We'll get into that. So, soil type, right?
Still.
How about how deep your track is? Are you pushing 30 feet of mud in front of it? Now, why am I talking just about the end tower, though?
That drives.
because that's where everything's set.
Right, it's your governor, it's your cruise
Right.
control, right? So the rest of the towers just have to keep up or it's gonna safety out. So it doesn't really matter what they're doing. I don't care how much mud they're pushing. I care about that end tower. Terrain changes, dips. Again, that's not really typically a factor around here. So what are the issues for changing speed actually at the tower itself?
Oh,
Wheel size?
Gearbox to center drives ratio.
So some things we already mentioned. So if you take a nozzle package on a pivot and everything's set just the way it needs to be, but you decide, hey, I want to put some tall tires on there because we've got some issues and I want to be able to get through them. What happens?
You changed your speed.
Changes.
You're going a lot faster than what the nozzle package is showing. So you need to adjust your telemetry too. And the next time you do a chart, you also need to, it would be good to include that as part of the chart so that the chart is actually accurate. Because the chart's not only going to be as accurate as what you tell it. Don't really change ratios much, but you could. Could put a high-speed center drive on or change gearboxes. You'd have to change both of them. So there's some other things there. Making sure your tire pressures are correct. That's part of it. Changes in water delivery. I should have been a little more descriptive on what I was looking for there. But so what kind of things can change in your system that can change how much water you're putting out? What are some of the variables there?
Leak.
Leak, yeah. And I mean, a minor leak isn't a big deal, but
Right. But and sand or that in your pipe.
yeah, exactly. Anything else?
Wind,
Wind, that goes into the environmental area. We'll get there in a second. Anything else? Flow rate changes at the pump. If you have a natural gas pump, we're going more and more electric, but it speeds up and slows down a little bit unless you have a governor. Regulators that are worn out, nozzles that are worn out. How long does a nozzle typically last?
Forever, don't they?
Until you change it, right?
Yeah.
How long should they last?
They say, what, 7 years?
That's regulator.
Yeah, we'll get to regulator. Let's talk about nozzles though.
Depends on the condition of your well.
How much sand you're pumping, right? The sand's gonna wear it out a little faster. I mean, I don't know really what the numbers are, but they don't last forever. There's gonna be slight changes, and it might be good to take a caliper to a few of them and just kinda see what you've got there. So then let's talk about regulators. Who runs regulators? On all of them, or some of them, or
All of them.
all of them? Okay. So how long does a regulator last?
Should we change it?
Yeah? What happens when the regulator goes bad?
Leaks or
Your,
your volumes are different.
It's not what it's supposed to be. Yeah, does it go up or down?
it'll go up because you've got nothing to control that water flow.
Your regular nozzle is.
So, and how long should they last?
7 years.
I was thinking it's in
7 years? They're not gonna go based on years though, they're gonna go based on what?
On what's
Gallons
pumping
per
through,
minute.
your sand,
On
your
usage,
rust,
isn't
your.
Right, but they're gonna go based on hours.
Gallons.
Hours instead of
Well,
years. I remember, you guys know Tom Moore, I'm sure a lot of you do. Tom Moore told me a story about a pivot, they have a lateral up there, and they were having some trouble with it, and they were talking with, I believe that's a Zematic.
Yep.
They were having trouble with it, and he was talking to the factory about what they've got, and he was telling them how many hours he had on it, and they said, well, that's not right, it's only 2 years old.
Yeah.
And he said they were just thinking in terms of Nebraska hours. Where
That's
they,
right. Well, when we started selling sprinklers in Gammon, it's John Deere,
Yeah,
and, 5 year, 5,000 hours. We said, hell, we do that in 2 years.
yeah,
And he said, no, you don't. And I said, yeah. You pull it over here, you pull it back, I said,
yeah,
that goes through your 5,000 hours into nothing.
right. So when you're looking at wear life, you need to be looking more at hours and water condition. So if you're pumping a lot of sand, it's gonna wear things out that you don't really think about. Let's see, is there anything else we need to talk about there? Nozzles, regulators, changes in engine speed. I mean, those old Molines, I used to have some land, and I ran an old Moline, and I put a cooler on the intake for it to try and cool that air down a little bit before it went into the turbo. And this was a long time ago, and with more water. And when you turn that cooler on, that engine just sped up like crazy. I mean, it was way out of whack. I mean, it was uncontrollable as far as trying to keep a constant speed on it. It was very difficult to keep it on that. So, but the same thing happens daytime, nighttime. It's not as drastic maybe, but it does happen. Your engines, unless they have a governor on them, are going to speed up a little bit when the air's cooler. They can get more air into them. So what are the environmental factors?
Government.
The government? Don't tell Trump.
Somebody said the wind and that.
Yeah, wind. High temperature, low humidity, high winds, high ET, those are the things. So what happens, and I know I'm throwing a lot of factors out here. Some of these we're going to talk about are controllable and some of them are not, but just being aware of them helps you. So when's your ET the highest? What time of day? Typically. 2 or 3 in the afternoon? And it's the lowest
About that time of night.
probably about 5 in the morning or so, the coolest part of the night.
Hour before sunup.
So if you're on a 5 or 6 day loop, exactly making a loop every 5 days, what's happening? You're in sync with the weather, aren't you? So what's happening? Your ET is at the highest at the same point in the field every time it comes around. If you're making, and it's hard to make a precise 5 day loop or so, but
That's why we have slip eat and that.
oh, that's
So
to
it
compensate
changes,
for that. Yeah, okay. Well, it helps. But if you're in sync, it's not so, I mean, it's difficult to be in sync at 5 or 6 days, whereas back when we were doing 3 or 4 day circles, that it wasn't so hard to be in sync. And so your ET is up at the same point in the field every time it comes around if you're on an even day circle. So it's kind of good to offset a half day and just kind of spread that variability out a little bit. I don't know if anybody, we were working on it. Well, we have a tool. By the way, I'm not part of PivotTrack anymore. I work with them some, but just to be clear on that, I'm not employed by PivotTrack anymore.
No, you retired after you sold it.
I'm not really retired, but I'm working on some other things. So when I say we, I'm talking about the things that we built. So there is a tool in PivotTrack that compensates daytime, nighttime, and you can set your start time and finish time for where daytime, nighttime starts, and then the percentage of change and things like that to help compensate for some of that stuff. A lot of the variables that we have may be a bigger factor than that, and so that's just one piece of the puzzle. There are a lot of factors involved. What kind of machine problems will be trouble?
Flats.
Flats? Yeah? I need to write flats down because I didn't put that in, and I need to. Electrical, right?
If you're on the gen set or that, higher speed, they'll change speed. I mean, if you got different volts, amps,
A bad end tower contactor?
yeah.
What does a weak spring do for you in the end tower contactor? If you don't know much about electrical items, this may not ring, but if that spring in that end tower contactor is 8 years old, it's been sucking in and out 1,440 times a day, every day for the last, for 100 days a year for the last 8 years. What's happening to that spring over time?
Gets weak.
Yeah.
And it'll hold longer, some, flies, building webs and
Yeah.
stuff in there.
Usually it'll engage just as fast or maybe slightly faster than it would when it was new. But when it lets go, when the power is not there to run that end tower, it's going to drag just a little bit. It's going to release a little bit
Snap
slower.
back like it-
Yeah. So my personal feeling is that you probably I would change out the end tower contactor at least every 3 years or so. Just, you can save the old one, use it on another tower, use it on an inside tower or something. But changing out that end tower contactor on a schedule, in my opinion, is a really good idea. I've seen some strange things with end tower contactors. I mean, it's not very common, so it's not like it happens every day. But seen some strange things there. Seen where they don't release at all. That's pretty bad. But if there's any kind of electrical dust around it, it's probably worth changing out. And there are factors that cause it to wear faster than normal. So, if you're on a gen set and your power is kind of dirty or whatever, that may be a problem. What's controllable and what's not? I mean, we've talked about a ton of factors, and some of these, a lot of these are in your book. So don't worry about trying to write them down or memorize anything. We need to do something about the things we can do something about, don't we? If we want to be accurate. Other factors. Do you ever think about the raised nozzles over that when you shorten a drop hose that goes over an engine, what's that doing for you?
Lowering pressure.
Right? Your pressure was the most down at the nozzle at the bottom, and so we're cutting that hose off about halfway so it doesn't hang on the engine. Then what happens? Our pressure's,
Less.
it's gonna be a couple pounds less. So do you put in a bigger nozzle there? You need to. You need to upsize it one or two, or a half or one, something like that. Just give it a little bit more. I mean, you could go to the chart and probably figure out exactly what it needed to be, but it's gonna make a difference. So if you have 3 or 4 nozzles or drops that you shorten to go over an engine, then you're gonna have a ring around that circle right there. It's on a hot, dry year. We talked about regulators, sand buildup, you mentioned that. Leaks, we talked about that. TLs are interesting. So temperature variability, a TL pivot will slow down and speed up. Right, Harold?
Absolutely.
That's right. I learned it on Harold Grawl's farm. He taught me. So you get variable rate irrigation without having to pay 1 cent more.
Exactly.
Slow it down when it's cool.
Yeah. Now, I should say, you put controls on there to
Yeah.
regulate that, though. So how much does that cost to add to a TL?
$6,000.
And it doesn't matter the length?
Well, that depends. That's a quarter mile or a half mile, or maybe about 10 now with span cable.
Okay. $6,000 to $10,000 to convert a TL. If you like TLs, I would say that that's a good thing, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that should,
'Cause-
TL shouldn't even sell one without that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't buy one without it.
yeah. So we didn't talk about drip, mobile drip. Is there anything from what we've talked about so far, Harold, that you can say about mobile drip and some of the factors and variables that you've seen? Some things we haven't discussed with a standard pivot?
I think you got covered it all.
Okay, here's one more thing on elevation changes, the dips, the peaks and the dips. Who's got really flat fields? Who has really flat fields? I know you think this is a trick question, it kind of is. So, what happens, what's the slope in this area? From one side of your circle to the other, what's a typical slope? And why does it slope? Anybody have any ideas?
Because of the earth.
Because why?
The earth.
The earth, right?
East slopes east to west, or west to east.
But why is it, I mean, what are we going from and to? We're going from the Rocky Mountains to the Gulf of Mexico over the course of quite a distance, but there's a natural slope to the ground around here. And for our area, it's roughly about 7 feet for a quarter mile pivot, half mile wide, 14 feet on a mile or so. That's our typical slope in this area, whether you think you have slope or not. I mean, every circle is obviously very different, but that's very common. So we just talked about elevation differences and pressure. What does it do for your pressure again? It's going to make a difference. Now, one more factor for that, though, is that you're dealing with a closed system, so that water has to go somewhere. You're not gonna just lose it. It's gonna go somewhere else in the system, but it's gonna go to where the least resistance is, where it can get out at. So that's gonna, if you're on the high end of the field, you're dropping your pressure on the, you're dropping your pressure on the end of the system because it has to go uphill, and that's putting more water at the center, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. At the low end of the field, you get more water at the end and less at the closer to the pivot, unless you're running regulators that are set properly, and that's the reason for
And
running.
not 20 years old.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good reason for running regulators. I know they're a pain, they're expensive, and most people would rather not run them. And I probably would run without regulators, but they have a very good purpose, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's probably the better, more efficient way to do it. So the speed at 100%, you've got a lot of variables there, and it was frustrating me because I was hand calculating, this is probably 5 to 10 years ago, I would hand calculate what the speed at 100% would be for pivots, because I wanted our customers to get the most that they could out of their system. So and then I put it in a spreadsheet and started doing it that way. And then, you know, very tedious though. I mean, it took hours to do a farm typically. And so we have 1,000 different entities that we do work for. And so to go through all of our customers would take a long, long time. So we developed an automated way to do that. So what we do is we take it on a 24-hour basis. So we take the amount of distance that the pivot made through the field in a 24-hour time span, and what percentage the pivot is set to, because we know that, we can see it, whether it's in auto mode and we're controlling the speed, or whether you're controlling it from the panel, we can see what speed it's set to. So we take those two factors and we backwards calculate what the speed at 100% should be. And so based on those numbers, we can get a very accurate number. The advantage to that is your nozzle chart is not taking the environment into account. It's not taking slippage, it's not taking your special scenarios. And a side story to that, the slippage part of it, there's a guy near Dalhart that farms where the old Miller Air Base used to be, and his pivot would come around, and every time it got to the it came around and the end tower would go over the landing strip in one part, or the taxiway, and then it would come back into the field. What was happening every time it hit that landing strip?
Speed up.
It would speed up because there's no resistance, there's no slippage anymore. So it was probably going what the nozzle package was calling for, but the rest of the field wasn't. So he's going to have a pie-shaped piece there. Only where that end tower was going over the strip, there's going to be a pie-shaped piece in the rest of the field that's going to not get watered as well. So that we can't compensate for that, but the way we did it, we're taking all of the variability into account. There's still a downside to that because the variability changes from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. At the beginning of the season, you're not pushing nearly as much mud, are you? The tracks get deeper, you push more mud, so that thing's slowing down slightly as you go through the season. So to do it well, you probably need to calculate this several times a year. But this is the software that we built, and this just includes some of the factors that we put into place to calculate that. So then we come up with, the computer comes up with its estimated speed at 100%, and then we show what the, let's see here. So this is what the customer has entered in. We already did this one before I ran this, but this is what the customer has entered in, and this is what we come up with. If that number by very much, like this one is over 5% difference between the two. So I can update that in our system, which, you know, I typically would not do unless I called the customer and tell them what I saw, you know. So I'm seeing that their number is off by a fairly good margin, and that's affecting all of their rates and everything else. So as soon as I update that in our system, it's going to show him a new application rate. It's going to go from 1.2 inches to whatever, 1.1 or whatever the new number would be. So that's been very, very useful because it's taking many more factors into play as compared to the nozzle package. Any questions? Are there any questions on anything that we've discussed? I may be going into too much detail on some of this stuff. I just want you to be aware of you know, what the factors are, and that can make you more aware in your field to do something about a few of them anyway. So this is our rain page. This was the first website that we built when we first started designing our own website and database applications. So days per revolution, this is based on those factors I was telling you about. And then we calculate, this is in auto mode, so he's at 17.5%, that's putting down 1 inch. When you go in there, you can set it by percentage speed, by application rate, or by days per revolution. Say if you want to get the circle around, the machine around in 24 hours for some reason, then you can set it that way too. So this is the website. Most everybody is on the app now, which doesn't have nearly as much detail on it, but it has the most critical information is on the app. And this again on the website, we have the application on the app too. I'll just quickly run through some of this stuff, but this is the control panel showing again, he's at 17.5%, putting down an inch. There is a tool built in here if you go into the speed setting to where you can see the same numbers that I see for setting your speed at 100% based on actual runtime. I probably should have put in a slide on that, but scheduled stop, setting up barriers in the field for direction changes if you want to set, and you can set 8 or 10 different scenarios if you'd like. So you could cordon off each part of the field for its own schedule, and then you can just change between the ones that you want to run. This changes the speed. Like this is a 500-acre circle, so this is set up to change speed as it goes from one part of the circle to another. So this may be wheat or cotton, and then you may have your corn down here, and set up your start and finish points, and then you can set your speed by whatever you want to. You can set it by depth of application or by percentage speed, and it'll cross over to the other factors. Same thing with, we don't have end guns around here, but this was developed kind of for end guns, but also for chem pumps. So you could remotely start and stop your chem pump at certain points in the field. This is a tool that we built. It's on the main web page. This is not on the app, but if you go back to the main web page, this raindrop here, that's your water map, and this is a tool that I'm very proud of. So what we're doing with this is again probably about a 500-acre circle. Let's see, 480 acres at 1,450 gallons a minute. This is showing your water pressure through the time span from January to December. This is from 23. It's showing your water pressure throughout that entire time span. So you can see if it drops off. This one doesn't really have a whole lot that's interesting. You can kind of see maybe daytime, nighttime cycles in there where the little spikes are. We can zoom into that on the website. I can't zoom into it with this, but those may be some daytime, nighttime spikes. I'm not sure. This shows how many days it was watered each month. And then what you got going on here is the outer circle, the outer sector is your water pressure over time, over this time span. So that's averaging your water pressure throughout that entire time span. So where's our low point in the field?
Bottom.
Right there. Which typically the lower point is in the southeast side of the circle, but there may be a playa lake or something, no playa lake down in this area. That's the low point. So you can run your mouse over that and see what your average water pressure is in each sector of the field. There's 180 sectors. Then the inside is it's not based on pressure at all. It's only based on time run. So the inside is telling you how much time it spent in each 2-degree sector. So this one's saying 49.5. Well, that doesn't mean a whole lot to me. But when I convert that, when I put it into all the other factors I have, my average pressure is 7.7, and I put down about 15.38 inches for the year of 2023 in that 2-degree sector of the field. So you can see that this is your high water usage crop, or it was double cropped, I don't know. The farmer would be able to tell you exactly what's going on in this field. But you can see where darker blue is more water applied and vice versa on the green. Anyway, if you're looking for a problem, this one doesn't really show it. A lot of times you can see where the pivot went down because one of these sectors will be dark blue compared to the rest of them. So, engine monitoring. This is the app. I'm just going to skim through this. How much time do we have?
You're out of time.
I'm out of time?
Yeah.
So I'll take 5 or 10 more minutes.
Might as well.
No, I'll go pretty quick here. This is the app. A lot of the same features, the most important features are built in. These are the rain gauges, shows live readings. That's over the course of 24 hours. These lines even some customers that have been with us a long time don't know what these lines are, and which blows me away because I really liked that feature when we built that. So the darker, the heavier line is where it was 12 hours ago, and the lighter one is where it was 24 hours ago. It just gives you a pace through the field, so you don't have to read anything. You can see how fast it's going through the field easily. The ones that are in auto have an orange box, and we'll just zip through some of this. This is, if you tap on one of them, you get more details, a pressure graph for the last week. This is where you can schedule up text messages to be sent to you when it reaches a certain point in the field. So if you want to know when it reaches the road, which is pointing straight west, you can dial that into straight west and hit the notify me button. It'll send you a text message when it gets there. You can configure the ringtones for different types of messages. Oops. So if it's a direction change or a water pressure change, you can make those different. Maybe you don't want to know when your pivot changes directions in the middle of the night. You can say you want it to be silent on direction changes in the night, so it doesn't wake up 5 people or whatever. And in the app, this is where you'd set up those 3 parameters that I told you about. There's not as many tools in the app. The app is really simple one setting that up. And then scheduling, the different scheduling options that are available on the website are there. So that's it. Does anybody?
Question for Carlisle. How much that cost per square?
If you want all the options, it's going to run probably right around $1,500 to get it set up, and then around $300 a year. Yeah.
Well, if you have the antenna.
If you have an antenna,
You
then
put one on mine, you're supposed to put on the neighbor.
oh. If you have an antenna, it's about $1,500 plus $300 a year.